Most people think a watch just tells time, but I'm about to show you why the watch you wear tomorrow morning will change how people perceive you within the first 7 seconds of meeting you. And more importantly, it'll change how you perceive yourself. Because after studying thousands of watch wearers, I've identified 6 personalities. And once you know which one you are, you'll understand why certain watches have always called to you. Now, in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal which of these 6 watch personalities you are. We'll explore how different watches impact your confidence, both internally and externally. I'll share some fascinating research, including a study showing watch wearers arrive earlier and score higher on conscientiousness. And by the end, you'll know exactly which watch you should be wearing and perhaps why you've been wearing the wrong one. But first, let me ask you something that might make you feel a bit uncomfortable. When you woke up this morning, you made a choice. Maybe you put on a watch. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you checked your phone for the time instead. That choice revealed something about you. What I've noticed is that the people who achieve what they want in life, they understand that success is built on small, daily decisions about who they're becoming. And whether you realize it or not, your relationship with time, how you choose to track it, honor it, display it, that's one of those decisions. Your watch, or lack of one, it's telling a message to everyone you meet. The question is, are you in control of that message? I can still remember the exact moment I really understood this. Years ago, maybe a decade or so, I was sitting across from a potential client at a high-stakes dinner. Ambitious guy, tech background, wearing an Apple Watch. Every few minutes, his wrist would light up. He'd glance down, tap his screen, and then look back at me with that slightly disconnected expression. Something was shifting in our dynamic with each notification. I saw myself losing him. Not completely, but just enough. Just enough that the conversation stayed surface level. Just enough that I held back my best ideas. Something clicked for me in that moment. His watch wasn't just telling time, it was showing his availability to everyone else's priorities, even during our meeting. The next week, I met a different prospect. Same industry, similar stakes. But this guy wore a simple Datejust. No notifications, no distractions. When he wanted to check the time, he made a deliberate choice. Rotated his wrist, glanced down, and then re-engaged. He did that once, by the way. Only once. The conversation was more connected. The trust came faster. He closed a deal worth multiple what I had initially projected. 2 meetings, 2 watches, 2 completely different outcomes. And that's it. I hadn't changed anything about my approach. After that, I became obsessed with understanding watch psychology. I studied thousands of successful men and identified 6 distinct watch personalities. Now, as I describe each one, pay attention to your gut reaction because one of these is going to feel uncomfortably accurate. The Mogul, he wears gold, bold, unapologetic, a day date, a gold royal oak, maybe a Nautilus. The Mogul doesn't hope for success, he expects it. When that gold catches the light in a meeting, he's not showing off, he's setting the tone. He's basically saying, I've arrived and I'm comfortable here. I have a CEO buddy who told me his gold day date isn't about wealth. It's about permission. Permission to take up space, to change what he's worth, to say no to the wrong opportunities. If you've ever felt that subtle surge of power when wearing something luxurious, you understand the Mogul mindset. The Mogul knows that confidence is a strategy, not a character flaw. The Minimalist. Now, this person strips everything down to essence. 2 hands, clean dial, maybe a Nomos, maybe a Max Bill, or a simple Johans. But here's what's interesting. The minimalist isn't choosing simplicity. Simplicity is choosing him. He's the guy who sends 2-sentence emails that somehow say everything. His watch shows quiet confidence, nothing to prove. The minimalist often drives a car that's 5 years old, but impeccably maintained. His wardrobe? 8 perfect pieces rather than a closet full of options. If you ever felt more powerful saying less, if you've ever deleted paragraphs to make your point stronger, well, you might be a minimalist. For him, the ultimate luxury is clarity. The Maverick, now this is someone who breaks rules deliberately. He wears a dive watch with a suit, a G-Shock to a wine tasting, a vintage Casio to a board meeting, but not from ignorance, from intention. The Maverick knows the conventions and chooses to ignore them, and that's it. He's saying, I make my own rules. I've watched Mavericks close deals specifically because they stood out. One entrepreneur I know, he wears an obnoxious G-Shock to every pitch meeting. Investors remember him. They tell stories about him. But if you've ever felt energized by going against expectation, if conformity feels like suffocation, well, the Maverick lives in you. The adventurer. Now, he wears tools, not trophies. A beaten up Seiko that's seen actual ocean floors, a Zen that's climbed actual mountains, a Tudor Pelagos with scratches that tell stories. His watch isn't about what he can afford, it's about what he's experienced. Think about it like this. The adventurer doesn't buy experiences, he lives them. Here's how you spot an adventurer. Ask about his watch, and he'll tell you about the time it saved his life, or the mountain where it froze, or the dive where it was the only thing that worked. If you've ever felt possession should earn their place in your life, if you believe scars are more beautiful than polish, well, you get the adventurer. The independent. Now, this is someone who finds satisfaction in discovering excellence others overlook. A Serica dive watch, a Baltic GMT, maybe a vintage Seiko from the 70s. The independent doesn't need brand validation. He needs authenticity. He's saying, I know what quality looks like and I don't need a logo to prove it. The independent spends hours researching micro brands, gets excited about unusual complication, knows the difference between a Solita and an ETA movement. If you've ever felt more satisfied finding something unique than buying something famous, if you prefer the road less traveled, well, the independent is speaking to you. The connoisseur. Now, this person understands nuance. He wears a Reverso, a vintage Speedmaster, a birth year Submariner, pieces with heritage and stories. Not for others to notice, most won't, but the satisfaction of excellence. The connoisseur finds joy in details others miss. He's playing a longer, quieter game. The connoisseur can tell you why a 1967 Speedmaster is different from a 1968. Not to impress, but because craftsmanship matters to him. Beauty matters. History matters. If you've ever chosen quality, even when no one would know, if you've ever paid extra for the detail that only you would appreciate, well, the connoisseur is you. Now, here's where we're at. You probably felt a strong reaction to one of these, maybe even a bit exposed. And that's because these aren't just watch preferences, they're identity markers. Researchers at the University of Glasgow discovered something fascinating. They studied over 700 people and found that the watch wearers scored significantly higher on conscientiousness. That's being organized, reliable, and punctual. But here's what really caught my attention. In the third phase of their study, watch wearers arrived on average 5 minutes earlier to appointments than non-watch wearers. Let's stop and think about that impact. Just wearing a watch made people more punctual. Not because the watch has magical properties, because it primes a different mindset about time. But the external perception, well, that's just as equally powerful. Researchers at the University of Michigan showed people identical resumes with different watches photoshopped onto candidates' wrist. Luxury watch wearers were rated 23% more competent. What surprised even me, it wasn't about perceived wealth, it was about perceived intentionality, the ability to choose and commit to something significant. The internal transformation goes even deeper. There's this concept called enclothed cognition. Basically, what you wear changes how you think. In one famous study, people wearing a lab coat made half as many errors on attention tests compared to those wearing regular clothes, but only when they were told it was a doctor's coat and not a painter's coat. Same principle with watches. When you put on a watch that makes you feel powerful, you stand differently, you speak differently, you make eye contact differently. These micro changes, they compound into macro results. I've experienced this myself. When I wear my dive watch, I take more risk. When I wear my dress watch, I speak more deliberately. The watch doesn't change me, it reminds me of who I've decided to be that day. Now, something happens each morning when you fasten that clasp. It's a transition moment, what psychologists call an identity bridge. Checking your phone for the time? Well, that pulls you into everyone else's world, their messages, their priorities, their chaos. But putting on your watch, that's different. That's you declaring, I own my time today. Studies in behavioral psychology show these physical rituals shape our mental state. Athletes do it before games, surgeons do it before operations, and whether you realize it or not, you're doing it every morning with your watch choice. Or you're not, and that's a choice too. I've started paying attention to this moment, the second when the clasp clicks. It's become my transition from private to public, from preparation to performance. It's my daily reminder of standards, of intention, of who I'm choosing to be. Think about it. Is your morning ritual setting you up for the day you want, or are you leaving your identity to chance? Now, understanding your personality is one thing, but matching it to the right watch category, well, that's where the transformation happens. Tool watches, they aren't about function anymore. Nobody needs a watch that goes 300 meters underwater, but you might need the psychology of wearing one. The capability, the readiness. When you wear a Submariner or a Speedmaster, you're not preparing for adventure, you're preparing for possibility. A friend of mine wears a Rolex Explorer every day, never climbed a mountain, but he told me, it reminds me that I can handle whatever the day throws at me. It's overcapable, overbuilt, just like I want to be. Dress watches, well, they create a different psychology entirely. Ultra thin, minimal. They force you to slow down, to be deliberate. You can't bang a Calatrava around. It demands a certain respect, a certain grace. And that demand, it changes how you move through the world. I wore a vintage dress watch to a negotiation once. Manually wound, delicate, requiring attention. It forced me to be more present, more careful with my gestures. I was more thoughtful that day, more precise. What matters is the negotiation went better because the watch made me better. Sports watches. Now, these live in between. They're adaptable, they're versatile, like wearing a stainless steel Royal Oak or an Oris Big Crown. You're saying you refuse to be categorized. You're complex, multifaceted, and you shift context without losing yourself. The versatile watch. This is the one watch solution. The Rolex Datejust or the Omega Aquaterra is the perfect example. Water resistant enough for a swim, elegant enough for dinner. It's for people who want one watch that can handle everything life throws at them. Put it on a leather strap, it's nearly a dress watch. On a bracelet, it's ready for anything. This is the category for people who have breakfast with contractors and dinner with executives. The versatile watch is fluent in every language of success. Each category creates a different version of you. The real question, which version do you need to activate? Now, let me tell you what nobody talks about. If you're not wearing a watch, you're still making a statement, and it might not be the one you think. When you pull your phone out to check the time, well, you're signaling distraction. You're one notification away from being pulled elsewhere. But when someone asks the time and you check your watch with that subtle wrist turn, you're displaying control, intention, presence. Now, I'm not saying you need a luxury watch, but I am saying you need to make a conscious choice about how you relate to time. Because whether you realize it or not, everyone else is reading those signals. Listen to this. Harvard Business School researchers track negotiations between people wearing different watches. Those wearing mechanical watches negotiated better outcomes than those wearing smartwatches or no watches. They called it temporal sovereignty, basically signaling that you control your time rather than being controlled by it. You can test this yourself. Spend a week wearing a watch and noting reactions. Then spend a week checking your phone for time. The difference in how people engage with you is quite remarkable. With a watch, conversations go deeper. People assume you're busier more important, but paradoxically more present. And that's it. A psychology hack that's hidden, but available for all of us to use. Now, there's this concept in psychology called embodied cognition. Basically, your physical state shapes your mental state. Wear athletic clothing, you'll have more physical energy. It's been proven. Watches work the same way, but unlike clothing that you change daily, a watch becomes part of your identity through consistency. It's there for your victories and defeats, your meetings and dates. It becomes what psychologists call a transitional object, basically a physical anchor for psychological states. And this is why watch guys get emotional about their pieces. It's not materialism, it's that their watch has been through everything. It's absorbed their story. My watches, the one on my wrist when I closed my first major deal, the one when my daughter graduated high school, when my son was born. It's not tracking time at this point, it's holding time. Those moments are somehow encoded in the metal. When I wear it, well, I'm wearing my history, my growth, my resilience. So here's where we are. You now understand the psychology most people never grasp. You know which personality you are, even if you're still resisting it. You understand how watches shape both perception and performance. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Because tomorrow morning, you're going to wake up and you're going to make a choice about your wrist. And that choice, like it or not, it's going to influence every interaction you have that day. Maybe you'll keep doing what you've been doing. That's fine. But at least now you know what you're really choosing. Or maybe you'll make a different choice. Maybe you'll finally get that watch you've been thinking about. Maybe you'll start wearing the one that's been sitting in your drawer. Maybe you'll embrace which of the 6 categories you really are. I know plenty of people who've told me that finally buying the right watch, not the expensive watch, but the right watch for who they are, well, that was a turning point. Not because the watch was magic, but because it was a physical commitment to their identity, their decision to show up differently. Now, here's what I want you to try. For the next 7 days, be intentional about your watch choice. If you don't own a watch, borrow one. If you own several, match them to your intentions for each day. Pay attention to how people respond to you, but more importantly, pay attention to how you respond to yourself. Notice your posture, your handshake, your decision making. Document it, take notes. I guarantee you'll discover something, because once you understand that your watch is a tool for becoming, not just an accessory for telling time, well, everything changes. And if you don't own a watch yet, start with something simple, a Seiko 5, a Timex, a vintage piece from your father. The brand doesn't matter as much as the intention. What matters is that you're making a conscious choice about how you show up in the world. The right watch doesn't just complement your style, it activates your potential. And now you understand the psychology of why. If you're fascinated by these deeper aspects of watch collecting and want more honest takes like this, we've built something special at thewatchbros.com. Our member community gets access to monthly giveaways where we give away a watch each month. Yep, every month. Exclusive videos where we talk about things that we can't on YouTube. Plus, direct access to us through one-on-one calls. Membership starts at just $2 a month. Don't forget to follow the Watch Bros on Instagram. Mike's photography is some of the best in the game. If you like to drool over watches as much as I do, then this is your spot. Don't forget to hit subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny, and it truly helps us support this channel. Here's what I really want to know. Which of the 6 watch personality resonated with you? Or maybe you recognize yourself in multiple types. Drop a comment naming your watch personality. I read every one and love seeing how people identify themselves. Me? I'll let you figure out my watch personality. Let's just say I've probably been all 6 at some point, maybe even in the same week. Until next time, wear in good health.